and welcome to Beyond the Screen podcast here on TKT Global. My name is Blessing Robinson, and with me is Kenny. This is our very first podcast on TKT Global. Subsequently, on this podcast, we will be talking about different topics across several spheres of influence. On this episode, we will be talking about politics and the church. It's going to be an interesting one. We have an amazing guest with us. You want to hear from her. Kenny, over to you.
And before we get right into it, don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms at TKT Global. So on X, on Instagram, on TikTok. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to check out our website at www.thekingdomtribe.church. So let's get right into it.
Yes, our guest today is into ministry and politics. That's to tell you that we're going to have an amazing ride today. So before we introduce our guest, let's quickly go on a short break. Welcome back. This is still Beyond the Screen here on TKT Global. Like I said before we went on that break, we will be introducing our guest. And our guest is no other than Chief Mrs. Adenike Olumide-Emmanuel.
You're welcome, ma'am.
You're welcome, ma.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today.
Yes, ma'am. So today we're going to be having this conversation around politics and the church, basically political engagement and Christian nationalism as regards, Christians participating in politics, becoming political aware and all of that. So to start with, ma'am, how would you say that the church is related with politics? How is the church related with politics?
I'll say politics began from the church.
Right.
Politics and the church, they are fully intertwined. When you look at scriptures, the king back in the day, he was the king, also the priest, and also, if you want to put it in today's parlance, you would say the president. Mm. So it was like a 3-in-1 in one person. But as the world evolved, people began to separate politics from church. And there began to be a segregation that the church is a different body from politics. But really, politics emanated from the church.
Wow.
That's interesting. But I think these days, most Christians actually feel like politics is another world on its own. Whereby, I don't want to get into politics because, like they say, politics is a dirty game and they don't want to get involved because I'm a Christian. I think more Christians need awareness on being involved in politics, regardless of your religion.
Yes, it's true. And I'll take us back to when we were colonized, in Africa, because it is what the parents, can put it like that, it's what the parents give to the child that the child will grow up with.
Yes.
So when we were colonized by the imperial people, the imperialists, the white people, what they passed across at that point was that politics was different from the church. Yes, they also came with religion, they came with Christianity, but the people that came with Christianity were not the ones that came with politics. Mm-hmm. It was a different set of people that came with politics. The people that came with politics came to come and colonize the African continent. And they came, with their greedy intent. Mm. The people that came with the church were the whites also, but they came to come and introduce Christ to the people. Yeah. So Christianity and politics came from the whites, but from two different angles, from two different viewpoints. Mm. And that is why over time, politics has been separated from the church. And people think that most Christians think that they should not be involved in politics because now it's being called a dirty game.
Wow.
Kenny, what do you have to say about that?
That's really interesting. Like, I don't think I've ever pictured it in that sense, like colonization, Christianity. Wow, that's really interesting. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about democracy. Mm-hmm. We know how that democracy is, should I say the best way, if not one of the best, to actually have an inclusive government, a government that actually serves the people. But we also know that voting is like a crux in a democracy. It's a very important factor in democracy. But especially in the African continent, we see how that there's a lot of apathy. There are so many people, especially Christians, that do not think that they should vote, especially because they feel like, even if they vote, their vote won't do much. So how do we help people understand that, regardless of what we may have seen, it is still important for us to actually play this important role such that we can have the kind of leadership, or should I say government, that, human beings should have?
Okay, so I'll come at that from two perspectives. There's something called the National Orientation Agency in Nigeria, the NOA in Nigeria. So I'm going to come from that angle, and I also come from the angle of the church. So when you look at this election that took place and that of 2019, it was as if the church woke up to the fact that they needed to play their part, their role in enlightening the citizen, or in enlightening their membership of the fact that they needed to go and vote. People need to erase the thoughts from their minds that their votes do not count. If you say that you are not voting, you not voting has already made way for those that want to rig. Mm-hmm. Because when you don't vote, the numbers are there. And that one alone gives room for rigging. But when you vote, your vote is counted. It shows that you have a proof. You have your name, and then with these beavers that was introduced, yes, you have your name there, you have your thumb printed, you have your information there. The fact is there that you have voted. But where you have not voted, the numbers are there, and then they will fill in the gap. But when you vote, they don't have any gap to fill. Now, the church is now carrying out the enlightening aspect, telling the people, their members, that they need to go and vote. You have to erase that from your mind that your vote will not count. But that is actually the job of the National Orientation Agency. You see, these NOA, they are quiet in the country. In fact, people do not even know that they exist. NOA should have maybe like an hour on major channels every day, talking to the Nigerian people. Yes, talking to the Nigerian people, telling us what Nigeria is all about. If we have a dream, we need to know about the Nigerian dream. What's the president saying? The president is meant to talk to us every day. If not every day, once a week.
To carry the people along.
Yes. So it is the duty of the NOA to enlighten the people to the fact that their vote counts. And then the church can now ride on that wave.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ma. It's already getting interesting, but we have to go on another short break. And when we come back, we will talk about more questions we have here for our guests. So don't go anywhere.
Yes, welcome back to the conversation. And it's been really interesting.
Yeah.
But before we continue, in case you have not done that, don't forget to follow us on all platforms at TKT Global, on X, on Instagram, on TikTok, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, don't forget our website, www.thekingdomtribe.church. So, back to the conversation.
Yes.
So, well, as a person, I've seen how politics affect everything, including the church itself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because we look up to the government to actually make inclusive policies and create, enabling environment for everybody. But we've seen how that different policies are springing up just here and there that are not carrying people along and all of that. So let's go a little bit into the context of Africa as a continent.
Yeah.
So now we've seen how that when we talk about, governments, non-performing governments, we find most of such governments in Africa because there are so many countries in Africa that are underdeveloped, and that has a lot to do with governance. So, how do we come in as a church? Because if we look at, I don't know the statistics, but I know that we have a lot of Christians in Africa, a lot of Christians. So how do we step in as a body of Christ to ensure that we play our part, we do what we need to do to bring the government system in Africa from what it is to what it needs to be?
It has to begin from the home. In order to bring the governance in Africa from where it is to where it needs to be, has to start from the home. The president came out from a house.
True.
The vice president from a house. Members of Senate from a house. From a community. Now, what is being taught in the house? What are the parents teaching the children? Are they saying, do as I do and not as I say?
As I say.
Are they saying one thing and doing another? Are they saying you have to be patriotic, you have to respect people, you have to be compassionate, but in the house there, in Africa, when parents are eating, parents can have like 4, 5 pieces of meat on a plate of rice or in their eba, and the child has nothing, or maybe one, because they want the child to finish his or her food before. But what message are you passing across? You're saying that I can go out there and I can take more than 4 or 5 shares of the same thing for myself. If you're going to take 2 or 3 pieces of meat, you let your child know why you're doing what you're doing. If you are saying, okay, that we want to build a more inclusive Nigeria, a more inclusive governance, one thing is to start from the house. Another thing that we need to realize is that it's not as if other countries in the world are, as if they have it all set, all
settled and fixed.
No. But the thing that I've noticed, China, for instance, there's corruption in China, but don't be caught.
Don't be caught.
There's corruption in America, but don't be caught. There is corruption in Nigeria, but when you are caught, we look the other way.
Yes.
At home, when that child does something bad, do you discipline that child? Or you say, okay, use your hand to rub the child's head. Oh, he's a child. He won't do it again. She's a child. She won't do it again. And then the child grows up with the thoughts or with the opinion that I can do anything and get away with it. And that's why people will become governor today, get into office, take all the money, and then nothing is done. And then when they are caught again and arrested, the so-called system of government lets them go. And then when they go back to their state, people come out and play music and, So discipline at home, how is it being carried out? What are the kids being taught at home? It is what you do on a small scale at home that will then interpret to what you do on a large scale outside the house. I believe, personally, that governance begins from the home. Governance begins from the home, from parenting, and then we grow up with that, and then we go outside.
I've actually heard of the saying that when a country is not functioning well, it's more like the fault of the citizens. And take, for example, citizens who have, played their part, they've done all they need to do, and it's still not coming up like the way it should. It still feels like a corruption-full country and all that. Because one person saying, I'm a Christian, I've done everything I can do. What else do you want me to do? I'm tired. What do I do at this point as a Christian? I don't know what to do. Do I follow the crowd? Do I go a different direction? What do I do? So I think there are more Christians asking questions like, after doing all I need to do as a Christian, as a good citizen, yet it's not, what else?
You keep doing what you're doing.
Well,
just one person. Yes, I just finished a school in the month of October. It's called the School of Politics, Policy and Governance. And while we're in school, a lot of us asked this question, one person doing right, not collecting bribe, standing up for elders when in a public transport, being on a queue and not jumping the queue to go to the front, doing right by the fellow citizens, one person doing that. And I'm like, how can that translate into the whole country? And my faculties were like, you begin with yours. You mind your business. Mm-hmm. You face your own front. It's not even face front now. Face your own front. Face yours. Do yours. And the thing is, when you begin to face your own front and you begin to mind your own business and you begin to do your own, people around will think that you are being you will be different, and then they will take that as being egotistical, having ego, thinking that you feel that you are better than everyone, and they will begin to talk you down. But you need to understand that it is easier to pull people down than to pull people up. So you want to stay where you are and focus on what you are doing, focus on your focus. And as time goes on, people will know that this person is a person of integrity. If you are thinking integrity, if you are thinking that we should do things right, this is the person you need to call. Even thieves, when they want to keep their money, look for people of integrity.
Yes.
Wow.
That's right.
Wonderful.
That's actually
Even
deep
thieves
too.
needs people that are, of integrity.
Wow.
All right. So before we round off, I think we should go on one more break because there's something very interesting I would like us to round off with, but we'll do that when we come back. So let's go on a short break.
Welcome back. This is still Beyond the Screen here on TKT Global. Once again, I hope you're following us on all social media platforms at TKT Global. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, on X, on TikTok, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Also, don't forget about our website at www.kingdomtribe.church. All right. So back again to the conversation. Now, I remember the story of Daniel and the 3 Hebrew boys.
Okay.
You all agree with me that, those guys were actually in politics,
Yes.
even though they were Christians. And one of the things I realized about them is that they were not just in politics. They were also performing some level of spiritual functions, for themselves and also for the states where they were in. So I would like us to round off by talking a little bit about the place of, performing some spiritual responsibilities such as prayers for the state while we also do our responsibilities as citizens of the state. So how would you say that? Let's just talk a bit about the importance of, those things.
So are you saying the same person praying also in governance or different people doing that?
Well, we can come from both ends.
Yes. So I'm going to answer it in 2 ways. So the same person praying can actually also be in governance, but also it can be different people doing both. So some people, yes, they are Christians, but they are not cut out for the deep spiritual stuffs. When I say deep spiritual stuffs, I say somebody who is a prayer warrior or somebody who performs miracles or somebody who is turning water to wine. Some people are not cut out for that, but they are Christians and they love to function in politics. And there's nothing bad in playing at that level.
Yes.
It's all okay, right? So it is such people that we want in governance, people who fear God, who honor God, and people who will do right by their fellow citizens. We want them in governance. On the other hand, there are also some people who also will love to play politics, but also be involved in the deep things of God. Take, for instance, Daniel. That's a fantastic example. Daniel was in politics. He served, or maybe he operated in 3 presidents or 3 kings. I like calling them presidents. 3 kings regime, right? But he was also somebody who carried the presence and the power of God. When the king wanted he slept and forgot his own dream. Oh my goodness. The king slept and forgot his own dream when he woke up and he needed somebody to remind him. And Daniel operated at that level of spirituality. My goodness. He went to his God, prayed to his God, talked to his God, and his God reminded him of the king's dream. Not only that, also gave him the interpretation. And this was a man that was also in politics 100%. So yes, an individual can operate at that level. You just need to know where you belong to. You need to discover what you really want to do, what God has called you to do. God can call you to operate in both levels or in just one. I like to, talk about the streams in the Garden of Eden. I think we had about 3 or 4 streams there. So I personally believe that people have 3 or 4 talents that you can, develop, deploy, make use of. So you can function in politics, function in the spiritual realm, in church, and also function in the marketplace, as long as God gives you the grace and the privilege.
So, in conclusion, is it safe to say that Christianity and politics can work together?
Oh, yes, 100%.
So you heard that Christianity and politics can work hand in hand. You can be a Christian and still function
Yes.
in the political sphere.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us on
Thank
the
you
show
very
today.
much,
It's
ma'am.
been an amazing time. I learned so much. I had so much fun listening to you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me
Kenny,
today.
you want to say something?
Thank you so very much, ma. We appreciate you for coming and for having this insightful conversation with us. Thank
you.
you so very much.
Thank
All right. It's so sad that we have to go now. This is where we call it a wrap for today's episode. But before we go, don't forget to follow us again on all social media platforms at TKT Global, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to check out our website at www.thekingdomtribe.church.
Yes, it was an interesting session, and I'm sure you have opinions, you have comments, and we want to see them in the comment section. So drop your comment in the comment section as well. This is where we'd say goodbye. See you in the next episode.